Hello everyone, hope you all are well and good. So let's start with a new topic, that is Indian polity. And Indian polity, we know that it holds a great part. Indian polity and governance has covered GS paper 2 of civil service exam, IAS exam, and also there is many of questions you can see in prelims also from Indian polity, from the section of Indian polity and governance. So we are starting with the preamble. The preamble, which has been termed as identity card of Constitution by N.A. Palkiwala, which is actually a blueprint of objectives resolution, which was introduced by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru on 13 December 1946. The meeting of Constituent Assembly started. The first meeting, for the first time, they met on 9th December 1946, and on 13th December 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru came up with the objective resolution. Objective resolution, you can say, is the embodiment of philosophies on which the Constitution was actually drafted. Means it gave us the direction. It included everything which mentioned that on what basis the Constitution will be formed. कि ये चीजें हैं, this will be our motive, this is our motive. ये बनाना चाहते हैं हम इंडिया को, ये बनाना चाहते हैं हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को. There was a blueprint somewhere, and the preamble is also somewhere a summary of Constitution. Though it is mentioned in the first page of the Constitution, but it was actually enacted at the last of the Constitution. Means in the last days of the Constitution. It was elected at the last. Anyways, if we talk about the preamble is divided into 4 parts. The first part is the source of authority. Next is its nature. The third is it mentions the objectives, and the fourth is the date of commencement. First we will talk about source of authority. Means from where did the Constituent Assembly got the authority to make this Constitution? So from the starting of the Constitution, as we know, that it is written, "We the people of India, do hereby solemnly resolve to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. We the people of India." We the people of India, how is it possible? Where have we taken this from? We have taken this from USA Constitution of US. Actually, from 1946 till 1950, till the time we haven't adopted our Constitution, we were in a dominion status. And being in dominion status, as per the Government of India Act, Indian Independence Act 1947, Britishers said that after formation of your Constitution, listen to me carefully. This is an interesting story. After your formation of Constitution, you will have to ratify this Constitution from the British Parliament. What did he say? Sir, you will have to get it ratified from the British Parliament. We said, no, okay sir, no worries. We'll do it, surely. They went. And on 27th January 1950, newspapers were filled with only one headline. We could only see one headline all over the world. India is now a sovereign country. India has adopted its constitution. The Britishers were shocked. How dare you? They gave a call to India. let us talk. क्या हुआ क्या ये? They gave a call and fortunately the legend B.R. Ambedkar was on the call. The person asked on the other end, "Sir, we asked you to get it ratified." B.R. Ambedkar said, "Oh, sorry, sir. I'm sorry, really sorry. We actually forgot to send it to you. I'm really sorry. We were actually busy in all these processes in the constituent assemblies and in the meetings. So, no, what can we do? Sir, I don't think anything can be done now because we have already enacted it. So, and now it has already become the fundamental law of the land. Nobody can change it except the government of India. Who will the government of India means the Constituent Assembly now. This is how we were able to write we the people of India. We the people of India means the people of India actually transferred their power through voting to the Constituent Assembly, and that Constituent Assembly with that transferred power was able to write we the people of India. And if in case we would not have been able to, we would have sent it to Britain, ये लिखना पॉसिबल नहीं था. Thanks to B.R. Ambedkar sir. And this is what we call the phenomena of autochthony. Autochthony means to be ruled by ourselves. So this is how we were able to write. This is the source of authority. Next, nature. The words which define the nature of the constitution or which defines the nature of India are the sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Sovereign, the word sovereign. The word sovereign means that you are no more in a dominion status. You are no more in a dominion status. Means you are free. You are free from any external influence. External influence? Sir, I have a question. Yes, please. Sir, you said that India is a sovereign country. Yes, there is no doubt. But I have two questions. Okay. Sir, one is United Nations Organization and the other is Commonwealth. United Nations, we became the member in 1945 and then this 1949. Let's talk about Commonwealth first. So, the question here arises is that, sir, we have been colony of Britishers for around 203 years, past 203 years. Still, we are trying to be part of Commonwealth. Why? Commonwealth nations are those nations, let me tell you, Commonwealth nations are those nations which have been a colony of Britain in past. Now we have Commonwealth games, you might have heard of. So Commonwealth nations. Sir, when we have been ruled by these Britishers for 200 to 300 years, why are we still trying to be member? Why did we still try to be member of Commonwealth? The Nehru Sahab answers. Listen to me carefully. बहुत बोला है. Due to the fear of isolation. Because at that time when we got independence, there was no friend of us. The only friends were the only persons who can understand our दुख, हमारी परेशानी जो समझ सकते थे, वो कौन समझ सकते थे? Those nations which have been a colony of Britain. So due to the fear of isolation, we became the member of Commonwealth. Further, Jawaharlal Nehru Sahab said कि we have adopted this membership by a free will. If that membership can be adopted by a free will, we also have the power to terminate it by free will. So we can anytime, if it can be terminated by free will, how can it affect our sovereignty? So my friend, it will not affect our sovereignty. It does not even affect our sovereignty by any way. Sir, one more question. I think you are forgetting. That is UNO. Listen, my friend, listen to me carefully. United Nations Organization. Sir, it can impose sanctions also. No? So it is actually violating our sovereignty. Listen to me carefully. United Nations Organization, we became 1945. And in 1945, were we sovereign? Was the India sovereign? No. So the point is, if to become a member of United Nations, there is no requirement of sovereignty, how can it affect the sovereignty? To a greater extent, that's some different. We will move into a political sense. We are discussing polity right now. Yes, it affects our external influence somewhere by imposing sanctions. That is the topic to be discussed in political sense. Now, I will not discuss over it here, but officially, it does not actually affect our sovereignty. Because to become the member of UNO, there was no requirement of sovereignty. Then how can it affect our sovereignty? Anyways, अच्छा, one more question. सवाल बहुत पूछते हो यार. One more question. That sir, is India sovereign, or are Indians sovereign? Interesting, na? Is India sovereign, or are Indians sovereign? Sir, if Indians will become sovereign, तो हमें बाहर निकलने से भी डर लगेगा सर. Anybody will have a pistol in its pocket and he'll shoot you. We are governed by, we have some limitations. Indians have some limitations. You cannot kill anybody. You cannot discriminate on any basis. Indians are sovereign. Listen to me. Indians are sovereign when they are voting free, fair, and regular elections. So actually, India is a sovereign, not Indians are sovereign. Next. Is a socialist. Next word is socialist. Socialist. Socialist was actually not part of the original constitution. Then sir, it was added by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act in 1976 during the time of Indira Gandhi. Sir, one more doubt. बोले तो दो. One more doubt. Sir, इसका मतलब it means that we were not socialist before 1976. Means we were not socialist from the time of 1950 to 1976. Is it so? No, my friend. You are actually forgetting a legend whose name is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. During the time when the Constituent Assembly was holding its meeting, and during the time in 1950, the definition of socialist which was prevalent was Marxist socialism. Marxist socialism. Now, what does Marxist socialism say? Marxist socialism says that if the country has resources of say 100 rupees 100, then they should be equally divided. I am telling you a very, very brief definition of Marxist socialism, though it has a long definition which we usually discuss in political science. But I am telling you this just to give an introduction. As per Marxist socialism, if the country has rupees 100 as the resources, those resources should be divided equally. Means you will not have any private resources of yours. If we would have been a socialist, if Marxist socialism is applied in India, then we won't be able to hold this private property. So all the resources should be divided equally into the people. There are no private resources of anybody. So B.R. Ambedkar knew that if today I write this socialist word in constitution, it would be understood as, and it will be understood as Marxist socialism, and if it will be written in the fundamental law of land, there will be a dispute. Obviously, there will be a dispute. So, sir, why socialist has written? Actually, India has its own definition of socialism that we call Indian socialism, or that we call a mixture of Gandhian and Marxist socialism. Gandhian and Marxist socialism. Our definition of socialism says that it does not say that the resources will be divided equally between among the population. Our definition of socialism says that you will be, listen to me carefully, you will be given equal opportunity. You will be given equal opportunity to earn the resources. Yes. This is what our definition of Indian socialism says. It says that you will be given the equal opportunity to earn the resources. Sir, you have made us understand. समझ आ गया सर, सबको समझ आ गया. But how socialism? It means we were not socialism at that time. No, we were socialism. Ambedkar Saab has written the definition of socialism. Ambedkar Saab has written equality of status and opportunity. Check the preamble. It's written over there. Equality of status and opportunity. Equal opportunity to earn the resources. So we were socialist before 1976. If the socialist word have been written as per this definition, it would have obviously gone against the spirit of democracy. Anyways, next. Next is secular. Secular. This word is nowadays. This word is you will find this word in many of the newspapers now. हर थोड़े टाइम बाद देखी जाता. Let's understand this. Sir, this secular word was, so now this word was also not in the original constitution. Original constitution. Then sir, it also means that we were not secular from 1950 to 1976. Because this was also written in 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. Actually, Actually, there are two definitions. Now again, there are two definitions of secularism or secular. The one is the Western definition. The one is the Indian definition. The Western definition says that this is the religion and this is the state. There is a wall between them, a big wall, bigger than the Great Wall of China. Bigger wall. मतलब, if I take them as partners, so there is no breakup नहीं हुआ इनमें. ब्रेकअप नहीं हुआ. ब्रेकअप के बाद तो फिर भी पैचअप हो जाता है. इसमें हुआ है डिवोर्स. So there's a divorce between religion and state. To understand it, easy words. Let me make you understand easy words. Divorce हुआ religion और state में. But what does Indian definition say? State, Hinduism, Islam, Sikhism, Parsi, Christianity, Buddhism, Jainism. Sir, divorce नहीं है. There is no divorce. We will not interfere in any of your matter. The state, as per Indian definition, the state says we will not interfere in any of your matters, in any of your religious matters, till the time it will affect the unity, till the time it will affect the integrity, dignity of the country, and till the time it will interfere with the other religion. सर्व धर्म संभव, सभी धर्म का संभव है यहां पर. सर्व धर्म संभव. We will not interfere in any of your matter until and unless it will affect the unity, dignity of the people, dignity of any other religion, unity and integrity of India. This is what we call watchful ambivalence. Watchful ambivalence. Sir, the answer is still pending. That weren't we secular before 1976? We were secular before 1976. Pick up the preamble and read it carefully. Liberty of thought, expression, belief and faith and worship. Liberty of thought, expression, belief. Leave those three words. Faith and worship. Also, it is given in the Article 25 to 28. We have a right to follow our religion, to propagate our religion. But there are some reasonable restrictions. There are some reasonable restrictions. It does not affect the unity, integrity of the nation. You should not interfere in any other religion. If you will interfere in any of the religion, if one religion is interfering in any other religion, the state will interfere. So if Ambedkar Sahab would have written it secular, we would have understood this definition. Secular. Next is democratic. Democratic. We are still discussing the nature of the constitution. Democratic. Democratic. or democracy? Democracy means a democratic polity means that sovereignty of people, the supreme power is people, are people actually. Now there are two types of democracy. The one is direct, the other is indirect. Direct, when people use their supreme power directly, people use their supreme power. Indirect, when people use their supreme power through their representative. Direct is of further four types. I will not go into detail. The one is plebiscite, the one is a referendum, the one is initiative, and the other is recall. We won't discuss it in detail. Indirect, where people use their supreme power through their representative. Through their representative. And this representative, this indirect democracy is further of two parts. The one is parliamentary, the other is presidential. So this is the definition of democracy by now. In parliamentary type of democracy, indirect democracy, it is said that executive is responsible to the legislature. A very, very interesting line. Very. Throughout the constitution, if you will read the whole of the constitution, this line can't be proved wrong. This line can't be proved wrong. Executive is will always be, as per Indian constitution, executive will always be responsible to the legislature. You can pick up any part of the constitution. And as we will move further, we will proceed further, I will be proving this line many times. Executive is responsible to the legislature. This was what types of democracy, democratic polity. Now let me make you understand in another way. Democracy is by the people, for the people, of the people. This is what we have read about democracy, right? Now, say this is a nation and 80% of the people have voted for X, 20% of the people have voted for Y. So who will form the government? X will form the government. Say X party will form the government. Through this example, listen to me carefully. Through this example, I can say that democracy is a majoritarian government. Majoritarian government. Is based on majority. It is a majoritarian government. And this majoritarian government can actually exploit how X, say I have been elected as X, say, and I got to know that this 20% people, these 20% people haven't voted. I will say come out of the house. बाहर आ जाओ. You haven't voted for me ना? अब देखो 5 साल कितना तंग कर पाऊंगा. ऐसा मारूंगा ना नहीं याद आ जाएगी. Majoritarian government. It is possible. It is possible as per the definition of democratic or democracy. Means you can say that democracy is actually a dictatorship by numbers. It is a dictatorship by number. Now here the twist comes. Here's the twist. Sir, इसको सॉल्व कैसे करना है? बाय एडिंग रिपब्लिक बिहाइंड इट. दैट्स व्हाई इट इज रिटन डेमोक्रेटिक रिपब्लिक. वी हैव एडेड द वर्ड सोशलिस्ट सेक्युलर, नॉट बिटवीन डेमोक्रेटिक एंड रिपब्लिक. इन दोनों को नहीं अलग कर सकते. अगर इन दोनों को अलग कर दिया तो डेमोक्रेसी की ये डेफिनेशन निकल कर आएगी. नाउ व्हाट रिपब्लिक डज? द रिपब्लिक वर्ड actually limits the power of this majoritarian government. It will limit the power of X. It will limit the power of the person elected. ऐसा नहीं कर सकता. That is why on 26th January 1950 we celebrate as Republic Day. This republic represents the Constitution. Limitations by Constitution. However, there are two types of democratic polities. The one is monarchy. मतलब famous है. One is monarchy and the other is republic. Monarchy is one where people मतलब succession के हिसाब से बैठेंगे, hereditary के हिसाब से लोग यहाँ पर बैठेंगे. The people will be sitting hereditary. King queen का बेटा आगे चलता जाएगा. Republic is one जिसमें the person will be elected. The person will be elected. So we are republic. It is a republic. Republic further means that the person should be elected. The person who will form the government will be elected. It also mentions that all the offices are open for everyone, irrespective of any caste, religion, class, anything. All public offices are open for everyone. Also, it mentions that political sovereignty is in the hands of people. This is what republic means. It does not favor any privileged class. This all describes Constitution. So republic actually limits the power of democratic government. That is why we use them together in Indian Constitution, democratic republic. But on the other hand, if it would have been only written democracy or democratic, dictatorship by number. See the beauty of Constitution. Can you even think at what level the framers of Constitution would have thought? See the level of the thinking, intellect. This is what they thought. This was what their vision. And today's generation, I sometimes feel pity on this generation. Sometimes. You all are knowing the reason. The generation is busy on TikTok nowadays. Dancing. We are focusing more on outer beauty now. This has ended. See the level of thinking. Intellectuals. They are called intellectuals. Democratic Republic. And we the people of India do hereby solemnly resolve to constitute India into sovereign. अब हर एक चीज की डेफिनेशन दिमाग में गूंजेगी तुम्हारे जब मैं बोलूंगा. सोवरेन, सोशलिस्ट, सेक्युलर, डेमोक्रेटिक रिपब्लिक, and to secure to its all citizens now come the objectives. The third part, objectives. Remember, I wrote here source of authority, nature. Now come the objectives. What were the objectives? The first objective is and to secure to its citizens justice. Justice. Which justice? Social justice, economic justice, political justice. Social, economic and political justice. No discrimination on the basis of religion, caste, race, sex. Mentioned in DPSP that women and men should be paid together equity. Wealth है ना, ऐसा नहीं है ना कि अगर मैं if I am a male and there's my colleague, we are teaching the same thing or we are on the same post. This is not ना कि वो उसको अगर if I am getting 100 rupees as my salary, she is getting 50 rupees or 90 rupees. Economic justice. If you are a doctor, you will get paid same. If you are IAS, you will paid same. If you are IPS, you will paid same. Irrespective your gender, irrespective of your gender. Economic justice. Political justice. After passing the age of universal right suffrage, after the passing age of 18, you all will get single one vote, one value. मुकेश अंबानी की वोट की वैल्यू 2 नहीं है ना, 1 है ना, हमारी भी 1 है. Political justice. Next. Next is liberty. Liberty of thought. This is too easy. Liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship. ये तो समझ चुके हैं. We have already understood that. Liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship. There's a difference between liberty and freedom. Liberty and freedom. Freedom has no limitations. But liberty means freedom with some limitations. Freedom with some limitations. The limitations by law. Sir, one more question. But फंडामेंटल राइट्स में तो फ्रीडम लिखा हुआ है वर्ड. Yes or no? If you will read fundamental rights, उसमें word written is freedom. यहाँ पे आपने liberty लिख दिया. And you are saying that liberty is freedom with limitation. अगर word freedom लिखा हुआ है फंडामेंटल राइट्स के अंदर, and fundamental rights are not absolute, we will discuss it later. अभी यहाँ इसके हिसाब से बता रहा हूं. अगर वर्ड फ्रीडम लिखा भी हुआ है, if it is written on, वहां पर हर राइट के बाद there are some reasonable grounds of restriction. Reasonable grounds of restriction. Reasonable grounds of restrictions means there are some limitations to your freedom. Anyways, liberty is of two types. There is a positive liberty, there is a negative liberty. The positive negative liberty says that physical restraint. फिजिकली रेस्ट्रेन किया हुआ आपने किसी को फिजिकली बंद किया हुआ. वी डोंट हैव दिस टाइप ऑफ नेगेटिव लिबर्टी ऑल्सो. नोबडी हैज अ राइट टू किल, टू टेक लाइफ और हार्म पर्सनल लिबर्टी. It is written in Article 21. It says that no person shall be deprived of his life and personal liberty. No person shall be deprived of his life and personal liberty. Negative liberty की definition हमारे यहाँ पर नहीं है. We cannot physically restrain somebody. Positive liberty is to restrain somebody to make growth for his or her development. For in case positive liberty, for in case there's say it's ancient society. There's a girl, there's a boy. The girl will not be sent to school, was not sent to school. That was positive liberty. Means you were becoming a hindrance in his opportunity to grow. So that is what we call positive liberty. Our constitution does not talk about negative liberty and not even about positive liberty. You have proper opportunity, equality of opportunity to grow. Means you don't have provided him or her the resources to actually grow. So positive liberty and negative liberty. So in India we cannot take either of them, any of them. Neither the positive liberty nor the negative liberty. Anyways, next it says equality of status and opportunity. The definition of Indian socialism. Equality. Three types of equality: of status and opportunity. Status, you can understand status very easy. Status equal होना चाहिए, opportunity equal provide करनी चाहिए. It talks about civic equality. From Article 14 to Article 18. Equality before law. No person shall be discriminated on the basis of religion, caste, race, sex, class. Elimination of untouchability. Nobody can practice untouchability. Equality in public employment. Civic equality. Then we have economic equality. Same way जब भी डिस्कस करके आया था आर्टिकल 39 में हम मेंशन है men and women should be paid equal. Economic equality. Then we have political equality. Article 325 and 326 we will discuss it later. It is mentioned that universal adult franchise and every person above the age of 18 will be given right to vote. Every person, irrespective of his money, wealth, whatever, every person, men, women, everybody above the age of 18. Political equality. These are the objectives and they are very well mentioned in DPSPs. We have already discussed DPSPs. You can check my video of NCRT, the first chapter of NCRT. I have described DPSP, directive principles of state policy. They are direction to the state policies. They mention actually what should be our motive, what should be the motive, what should be the aim when a state is trying to issue the policy, to implement the policies. We'll discuss it when we'll discuss the DPSPs. Anyways, so these objectives are actually the reflection of DPSPs in preamble. Now next, fraternity. Fraternity has further mentioned three words. Fraternity has mentioned three words. The one is dignity, the one is unity and integrity. This word integrity has been added through 42nd Constitutional Amendment. dignity of individual. Now, fraternity means brotherhood, first of all. Brotherhood. Dignity of individual. Use a bit of common sense. If the dignity of individual will not be protected, if the respect of an individual will not be, if the personality of an individual will not be protected, do you think that this brotherhood can prevail? I have a feeling of respect for you. You should have a feeling of respect for me. We should have a feeling of respect for everybody, for every personality. Only then this brotherhood will be possible. Dignity of individual. Unity. This is something psychological. Psychology. We are united. We are united in this situation of corona. Psychological. Integrity. Integrity is for territorial. Geographical. जो इंडिया का मैप है वैसे का वैसा रहेगा, टूटेगा नहीं है. Geographical integrity. Territorial. And it is further written in the Constituent Assembly on this day of 26th November 1945, we do hereby adopt our Constitution. So, that day of commencement is it. Now, sir, as it is written in the preamble, it is written that we adopt the Constitution on 26th of November. Yes, we adopted the Constitution on 26th of November. And on 23rd or 24th of January 1950, all of us have signed, all of the members of the Constituent Assembly have signed, and it was mentioned in Article 349 that commencement of Constitution is on 26th January 1950. So if question comes, date of enactment 26th November 1949. Date of adoption 26th November 1949. Date of commencement 26th January 1950. ये मैं नहीं कह रहा हूं. Check the article 349 of the Constitution. लिखा हुआ है Constitution में. ये डेट लिखी हुई है. Commencement word is mentioned in it. 26th January 1950. Now the next question we have studied. Achha, why 26? What reference? What is the significance of this 26th January 1950? Actually, Jawaharlal Nehru wanted our India to be independent on this date, 26th January. So it has an historical importance. In the Lahore session, he has announced it. It has an historical importance. We will discuss it in history. So that's why we have taken this date of commencement of 26th January 1950. Anyways, now the question arises, rather than starting it with the question, let's understand the story. Interesting story. There was a Berubari Union case in 1960. Listen to me carefully. आंख नहीं झपकाना जब तक मैं बोल रहा हूं. ध्यान से सुनो. Berubari case. Berubari case was regarding the Red Cliff Line. This Red Cliff Line between India and Pakistan. Bangladesh before 1971 was Pakistan, East Pakistan. On this Red Cliff Line, on the border of West Bengal and East Pakistan, there is a Thana number 12. There is a Thana number 12 of Jalpaiguri district. And this region, Thana number 12 of Jalpaiguri district, is known as Berubari. This region is known as Berubari. There was a dispute regarding this region. In 1952, Pakistan demanded that sir, this part should be given to us. And the story further says that in 1958, there was a Nehru-Noon agreement. And in this Nehru-Noon agreement, Nehru Sahib ceded this area. Ceded means given. He gave this area, ceded this area to Pakistan. You keep it. When he returned, there was a dispute rising already in the parliament. The confusion was, sir, how did you give the region to Pakistan? Nehru Sahib said, what's the problem? Haven't you read Article 3? Article 3 पढ़ो भाई ध्यान से. It is written. But Article 3 में क्या लिखा हुआ है? Other members said, sir, Article 3 में तो ये लिखा हुआ है कि we can form the states, we can alter the boundary of states, we can increase or decrease the boundary of state, but there is nowhere written that we can cede any part of our country to another country. Listen again, telling again, Article 3 says that we can form new states, we can change the boundary of states, but there is nowhere written that we can cede any part of the state. Nehru Sahib said, what are you talking about? We are democratically elected government. We are parliament. Now preamble में तो ये लिखा ही हुआ है ना कि it is already preamble भी क्या पार्ट है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का. So we have जो मैंने चीज की है that is in interest of the people, interest of the constitution. I have taken that part from preamble. मैंने preamble से उठा लिया कि for the interest of the people I am democratic elected government, कुछ भी कर सकता हूँ. I can see it better. But the confusion was still there. Nehru Sahib said preamble is also part of constitution. No, there was still a confusion. Now Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the president of that time, used Article 143. By using Article 143, the issue went to Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court further decided that if you want to cede this part to the Pakistan, you will have to amend the Article 3. Because the important point is, because preamble is not a part of constitution. Preamble is not the part of constitution. If you want to cede that area, you will have to amend Article 3, and that is why 9th Constitutional Amendment Act was passed. But later to this, after this, there was another case regarding this, that whether the preamble is a part of constitution or not. That is Keshwananda Bharti versus State of Kerala. Further, it was made to be the part Keshwananda Bharti versus Union of India. In this case, 1973, it was held that preamble is the part of constitution. Preamble is the part of constitution, and that is why in 1976 That is why in 1976 the 42nd Constitutional Amendment was passed, and even today it is termed that preamble is the part of Constitution, and 42nd Constitutional Amendment is taken as valid, is termed as valid. But the problem is, the question at last which arises is that, sir, if we were socialist and we were secular, तो ये मेंशन क्यों किया गया था? मेंशन किया, it was a political statement. It was a political statement. Though it is valid, but as per Justice H.H. Seravai, it was a fraud with the people of India. Mentioning of socialism, because it was already mentioned, it was a fraud. H.H. Seravai has used the word fraud. So as per today, we can amend the preamble, but it should not harm the basic structure of the Constitution. It should not harm the basic structure of the Constitution. Because what actually that government did was कि the preamble is a picture. Now I have clicked my picture, मैंने यहाँ पे अपनी पिक्चर लगा दी. अगर पिक्चर में मैं मेरे बाल साफ कर दूंगा, पिक्चर एडिटिंग कर दूंगा, अगर मैं बिल्कुल गंजा हो जाऊंगा, तो क्या मैं एक्चुअली में भी गंजा हो जाऊंगा क्या? इट इज अ समरी, इट इज अ फोटोग्राफ ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. H.H. Seravai said, you have changed the photograph, you have made changes to the photograph, but actually changes नहीं हुआ. So it was fraud as per H.H. Seravai, though it is valid. 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act was valid. So this is about the preamble. Even today we term it as it is valid, and preamble is the part of Constitution. We can amend the preamble, but it should not harm the basic structure. What is basic structure? We will discuss in the coming classes. Anyways, thank you.